and welcome to my magical home. Today I'm going to be sharing a movie night special with you guys. I have really been enjoying the show Wednesday on Netflix, and with season 2 putting out its second part, I thought what better than to have a little bit of fun and bring you along with me. So I have got a creepy and creative DIYs I'm going to be sharing with you, and I have also got a full eerie menu to just bring in all of the fun. So I hope that you will stick around and check it out, and let's get started.
Let's talk about the first DIY. So we're going to be making a Halloween food platter, and all of the stuff I'm using came from Dollar Tree. So I got this candlestick for $3 from there, and I'm just going to give it a quick coat of black paint. After that, I also picked up a plate from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to use some Gorilla Glue to glue this on top of this candlestick right in the middle. And I have an elevated platter. It looked so good, and I spent $5, including tax, to pull this off. And it really just creates such an ambiance, and I know that I'm going to love using this throughout the entire holiday season. Okay, let's talk about the second DIY that I created to help bring this movie night to life. I love the window inside of Enid and Wednesday's Nevermore Academy room, and I thought it would be the perfect touch to add to my movie night. So I'm going to try and recreate it, of course, and we're going to be bringing that together starting with 2 pieces of black foam board that I picked up from my local Walmart. And I'm going to start by taping them together with just some simple masking tape I had around the house. Now that my boards are taped together, it is time to make the perfect circle. But honestly, if I was to try and do that all on my own, it would look terrible, like some kind of wonky egg. So I'm going to be making a DIY compass with a string and a pencil so that I can pull this off. Now that my circle's cut out, it is time to come in and draw out the spiderweb shape of the window frame. Now, this actually took a little bit more time than I expected, but it was really kind of fun to draw. I did not realize that the Wednesday window did not have a normal spider's web shape. It has a very distinct shape, and so it was kind of interesting to try and replicate it. And once all of my lines were put in place, I did come through with an X-Acto knife yet again and just cut all of those out so that this foam board actually creates the frame to their window in the end. Oh my gosh, doesn't that look fantastic? I was so excited with the way that this turned out. But after giving it a lot of thought, I think I actually would have reversed the two. I think I would have done the white board in a foam board so that it was thicker, and then had done the frame in like just a normal piece of tag board like how the white was. Only because I think it would be easier to cut out this entire shape. But I do feel like it does create a cool effect because it is raised up a little bit. But anyways, as I said, we're going to be taking in 2 pieces of white tag board, and we're going to cut out our circle shape that's going to go behind this frame. And it is time for the fun part. We are going to go ahead and paint this window. Now you will notice on one side, I do my best to try and paint a silhouette of what Wednesday would be like outside with her cello playing in the night. Now, obviously, it is not great. I did the best I could. I am not like an amazing artist. I just was trying to have a little bit of fun. And because it was a silhouette, I wasn't going for anything of too much detail. But anyways, so I like how in one side you can see Wednesday out in her element, and yet the other side really pulls in those Enid vibes. And again, another thing that I didn't realize was quite as complicated is all the colors that Enid has. It's not like each little section of the spiderweb is one color. Some of it is like just lines of different color and all different things. It's kind of a little chaotically fun. And now it's time for the fun part. It is time to decorate. So I have 2 purple shears that I am just putting across one of my party and workshop tables, and then I'm going over it with a black lace tablecloth. Honestly, it worked out a lot better than I thought it would. The 2 together helped to deal with the opaqueness. And then I'm going to obviously write my name of the show we're watching on our like little movie night sign. And I'm going to be bringing in a candelabra, as well as my little film projector and some crows and different things to try and bring this space to life with the creepy vibes. I'd love to know what you guys think.
I'm so excited with the way that the window turned out and the platter. I feel like the tablescape is just going to bring this movie night to life. But it is time to get started on our menu for the evening, starting with our signature cocktail, of course. I'm going to be showing you how to make a Nevermore Fizz. So this drink is inspired by not only Wednesday's gothic vibes, but also by Edgar Allan Poe and his work The Raven, which obviously inspired the Nevermore Academy. So let's get started.
In order to make our Nevermore Fizz, we need to start out by making some blackberry simple syrup. And in order to do that, we are going to be using a dash of lemon juice, a 1/3 cup of water, 1/4 cup of sugar, as well as an entire container of blackberries. And I'm just going to combine these on the stove in a little small saucepan, and I'm going to let it cook until the fruit itself starts to get really nice and soft. Then I come in and I try to smush up the fruit with one of my little potato masher tools, and just tried to make sure and let this cook as long as it could so that it was a nice deep dark blackberry color. Then I'm going to strain this off, and I'm going to put it into a mason jar to cool, but later when I go to use it in the recipe, you guys will see I found the cutest container to add this with, and I found it at my local Dollar Tree, so I think you're going to love it. And it's time to create our masterpiece. We're going to start out by adding a dash of Saint Germain elderflower liqueur into our glass. Then it's time for our main ingredients, the star of the show, our blackberry syrup that we just made. Now look at this adorable little jar that I found to put this in. They come in a 2-pack at Dollar Tree, and I think that they are just perfect, not only for having little ingredients like this to add some extra flair and to really add to the ambiance of your drink making, but also these would be great if you had a party to have shots or something of that nature. Anyways, you're going to add about a tablespoon of that blackberry syrup, and then you're going to come in with some black edible glitter, and we are going to add a good dash of that into our drink as well. Then you're going to top it off with champagne. You are going to want to pour your champagne in slowly, because I have noticed that when I use edible glitter, it has a tendency to foam up a little faster, and you don't want it to overflow, obviously.
Now that we finished with our Nevermore Fizz, it is time to start on the actual food items for our menu. And we're going to be beginning with some eerie and spooky cookies that if you guys have seen the new season, you will have noticed that there was a platter of cookies that Lurch brings in for Morticia and Bianca. And it is covered in spider webs and little spiders, and I just thought they were so cute that I wanted to bring some of that magic into our movie night tonight. So let's go ahead and get started.
I'm starting with my go-to vanilla sugar cookies. Since we've baked these together before, I won't go into the full step-by-step again, but I will pop the recipe up here in case you'd like it. Honestly though, even store-bought dough or pre-made cookies work just fine. The magic begins once they're baked and ready to decorate. And it's time to prep our chocolate for decorating. I'm going to put half a teaspoon of coconut oil as well as half a bag of chocolate chips into my double boiler, and I am just going to keep stirring this mixture on low till it's about 70% to 65% of my chocolate is melted. And then I remove it from the heat and just keep stirring until my chocolate is nice and smooth. After that, I add it to a piping bag, and it is time to draw on chocolate spider webs onto these cookies. I had every intention of making little spider M&Ms, but honestly, the legs just blended right into the webs because they were both chocolate. If I was to try this again, I would suggest using white chocolate for the legs so that they stand out, because I just basically had to scrap it. I added a couple of the spider bodies to my cookies, but there was no way you could tell the difference between the spider webs and the little legs I was attempting to create.
I have always been a huge fan of the Addams Family as far back as I can remember, and I feel like the love really started with the 90s classic Addams Family and Addams Family Values. And I love in the original Addams Family movie where Morticia serves Fester Maman Spéciale de la Maison. And basically she puts his plate in front of him and it's totally gross looking, it's moving. The grandma tells him to start with the eyeballs. And so it's actually that little piece of macabre magic that has inspired our main dish tonight. We are going to be making an eyeball pasta with purple Nevermore noodles, of course.
Let's start out by making some meatballs. We are going to use half a cup of panko crumbs as well as half a cup of Italian panko crumbs or just breadcrumbs that you have on hand, and 1 egg, and I'm going to mix this up with a hot Italian sausage. I like to be sure to use the hot Italian sausage because this really does temper down that heat, and I feel like it just doesn't have enough flavor if I use the mild. Now that our meatball mix is combined, it is time to form these meatballs, and I actually use a cookie scoop to do this. I have one that's 1.5 tablespoons, and I just go ahead and scoop a whole bunch of little balls onto a parchment paper covered cookie sheet. And then once I have it all separated out, I do like to come in and actually form them in to be a rounder meatball. Now it's time to make the magic and bring these meatballs to life. I have mozzarella pearls that we're going to be using, as well as 2 different color of olives. Now these are not the pickled olives, they are both just normal canned, and I think it's Lindsay that sells these green ones. You guys got to try them. They are so buttery and delightful. You're going to love them. But anyways, so we're going to be cutting these olives up so that they create the form of an eye. So the green is going to be the circle around the eye, the iris, and then we're going to make little black pupils to go inside. And then obviously our pearls will be the white of the eyeball itself. Now that all of our materials are prepped and our meatballs have cooked almost all of the way, I'm going to take them out with about 2 to 3 minutes left and add my little mozzarella pearls on top of all of my meatballs. Then, once they've finished cooking that extra 2 to 3 minutes, I'm going to bring them out and immediately place these olives on top of the mozzarella while it's still nice and hot. That way they stick.
eyeballs really quick. Well, I love the way that they turned out. I definitely feel like I could do it a little bit better next time, and I want to tell you what I would do. I tried to make these meatballs as rounded as possible so that they'd have that eyeball shape. I don't think I'll do that. If you keep them round but kind of squish down the top a little bit so it has a little bit more of a flat surface on the top, I think that it would be better to hold the cheese. You guys can tell that, or going to be able to see that like some of the cheese slid down and it kind of ruined those eyeballs. They didn't really work out. So I think that by having a nice level top on those meatballs, it's going to help to make sure that that cheese stays put where it should.
Now to finish this off, I am going to be bringing in some noodles that I dyed Nevermore purple, just to add a little bit of extra fun and vibe. And we are going to put this into a nice platter with some spaghetti sauce and then top it with those meatballs that we made.
Didn't the eyeballs on the pasta just look next level? I think that little tip of having the two different kinds of olives really brought it to life, and it was so exciting to see it all finished up. But what goes better with an eyeball pasta than some cheesy bone breadsticks? So let's get to work.
Like the cookies, I'm not going to show how I made this pizza dough, largely because I'm trying to save time and this was already a long video. But if you're interested in making your own pizza crust, I would recommend checking out my last video, which was a Resident Alien movie night, because this pizza crust is amazing. But enough said about that. What we're going to do is take your pizza dough and we are going to cut it into strips and form it around some cheese sticks as well as those little mozzarella pearls so that we can create bone shapes. Once my dough was formed, I went over with a little bit of butter, a drizzle of olive oil, as well as some Parmesan cheese and everything bagel seasoning, just to give it a little bit of extra flair and flavor. These were really delicious, guys. I hope that you guys try this out. But as you will see in a minute, the cheese escaped. They were still delicious, but this was not a perfect recipe. My bone breadsticks got a little wild in the oven, but that is okay. As you can see, a lot of the cheese did come out, but I feel like that's the fun of homemade. It's perfectly imperfect and yet still utterly delicious. I did also feel like the little edges on my bones really didn't stick as well as I would have liked. In the future, when I make these, I might pin them in with a toothpick to ensure they stay exactly where I want them.
As for making a full meal, I can't leave out a vegetable, of course, so I really had to think of something fun that would also really be included into our theme today, and I decided that we were going to make some fresh decayed green beans. It gives a delightfully macabre twist to a simple side that I think is really just going to help make everything pop and make sure, of course, that we have that fully rounded meal.
So for these green beans, I've actually got them freshly steamed already on the side because I feel like most of us all know how to steam a vegetable. I'm not going to get weird on you guys and show you every detail, but how we're flavoring them is important. I am taking some fresh butter as well as shallots and garlic, and I am just going to saute these in a pan as well as add a little bit of black food coloring to this. And this is what's going to give our green beans that fun decayed look. Once my butter mixture was done, it was time to bring in those freshly steamed green beans and just mix them in. I cannot wait to hear what you guys think of these green beans. I feel like it is such a powerful little side. These green beans were crisp, fresh, and just looked a touch decayed so that they would fit in right with that Addams Family vibe. But I love that I'm still able to have that fully rounded meal by having a vegetable included. Anyways, don't forget to comment down below and let me know what you think of everything so far.
save it for a little bit later, which is why it wasn't plated with everything else. That way we'd have some special treat to celebrate the last episode of this new season. So we are going to be making little graveyard dirt cakes. And you guys, they taste so good. You are absolutely going to love them. And I can't wait for you to see how they turn out.
We are going to start out this recipe by making a nice pudding mixture using chocolate and cheesecake pudding as well as some Cool Whip. But I did want to let you know I did make 2 chocolate cake rounds and set them aside. I didn't feel the need again to make them on camera. You guys have all made a cake mix, I'm sure. And I was trying to cut this video a little bit shorter so that it didn't take up too much of your time. Now to our pudding mixture. I used 2 packages of instant pudding. As I said earlier, 1 in chocolate and 1 in cheesecake. And all I did was add, as it was called for, the 4 cups of milk to these. Once I had them completely stirred up and mixed, I added an entire container of Cool Whip. And this is going to be our pudding mixture for our dirt cake. Another thing that we need to prep for this dessert is we are going to take a package of Oreos. We are going to scrape out that weird white stuff in the middle, and then I'm going to grind them up into a fine powder. And this is going to be our graveyard dirt. And of course, no graveyard would be complete without gravestones. Now, I found these on Canva and printed them out on a piece of cardstock, and I'm just going to cut them out, glue them on to a little toothpick in the back, and I'm going to then put them into the back of these little graveyard dirt cups just to add to the effect. The last thing we need to prep before we can begin assembling these all together is I need to cut up those chocolate cakes that I made, and I just cut them up into a grid shape. Really, I break them up with my hand so it doesn't matter that much, but you do want to have it easy and accessible so that when you're putting this together, you can kind of create a little bit of an assembly line. And it is finally time to bring these desserts to life. Now I start off with a tablespoon of those Oreo crumbs on the bottom. Then I come in with a couple tablespoons of pudding. I layer in some chocolate cake, and then I come back in with the Oreos and start all over again. And I just keep going with these layers until I fill up my little cups completely. And now it's time for us to decorate these. It is important, I want to say, that you end your last layer with those Oreos that are crushed up, because it does give that graveyard dirt look. But we're going to be bringing in those gravestones that we cut out, as well as some tiny bone sprinkles that I had on hand, just to give a little bit of extra flair to these. And we're going to top them off with spoons that look like shovels. And that brings me back to the original Addams Family when they're digging up things from the graveyard. I think it was called Wake the Dead. And I just felt like it was the perfect way to end this Wednesday adventure.
I am so happy with the way that these dirt cakes turned out. I can't wait for you guys to try them at home. They were such a cute thing that just really gave a little bit of something special to the evening. Now, if you wanted to upscale them just a little bit, I bought mini gummy worms for these, and I had misplaced them in the time of filming, so I did not get to add those. Another thing that you could do is add those candy rocks. Those might give a little bit of extra flair, or some edible moss to your little graves if you just really want to make it that much more. But I do think that this turned out really cute, even with the little bones on top. And the shovel spoons, oh my gosh, you guys. I just absolutely love it. But it is time for us to close out today's video. And I think we made a menu to die for, in the best ways, of course. But I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I've got more content coming your guys' way. Fall and Halloween season is really where I come alive, and I've got so many things I can't wait to share with you guys. But anyways, I hope that you have a magical day, my friends, and I'll see you next time.